So I remember my first entrepreneurial endeavor. This was before coaching. So I said this on other videos. This was when I opened Etsy shops. And the funny thing is, I can't remember the fear hitting me immediately. Somebody was like, I had crocheted hats, and my good friend was like, you should sell those on Etsy. And I was like, what? You think my stuff is good enough to sell to other people? Heck yeah, I'm all in. And I was a stay-at-home mom. So I was like, definitely, let's figure out how I can bring in some money and stay home with my kiddos. So I launched, right? I didn't even give myself the opportunity to get in my own head. But that makes me, that brings up a couple thoughts for me. Is one, there has been a zillion times where I did get into my own head before I did the launch thing, and the fear took over. And I overanalyzed. I was afraid of like being seen. I was afraid of ridicule. I was definitely, my imposter syndrome was running underneath, and it was like,
Right.
you're not good enough. Put that out there, go ahead, and people are going to see what you're really about, that you're not good enough. And of
Mm.
course, I was better than my imposter was letting me believe. But that's what it does, right? It holds us back, and it's very fearful. And then, of course, and I have seen a lot of people who are like, I really want to launch, and they even prepare all the things. And then just before launch, reasons come up,
Yeah.
excuses, usually
Yeah.
not reasons. That's why I put it in quotes. It's really excuses, because reasons are valid, right? Like reasons happen.
Hmm.
We talked about this before, but excuses, they're real tricky with you, and they'll make you believe that there's real reasons that you're not doing it. Um, and so you run with it and you stay in that place. And what's happening is it always goes back to the fear. That fear is just sitting under there doing its thing, going crazy. And then thing about fear is we're never really going to get rid of it. It
Right.
exists for a reason. It exists to keep us safe. This is how our brains are built. There's a primal part of our brain that,
Hmm.
we haven't, that hasn't really shifted since the days when like we lived in caves and there were real threats of like animals chasing us and killing us and eating us for dinner, or whatever the case is. So there's that piece of our brain that still exists. And so its intention is to keep us safe. And so it comes up with ways to do that. Or ways it thinks
Hmm.
it's doing
Protect you. Right.
it right. Um, what's happening though is it's really just, it's fear of the unknown. Is it really keeping us safe? No, it's keeping us stuck. And so it
Hmm.
comes back to a phrase that comes to mind I actually really wanted to address. So before I forget, let me throw this in there, is do it scared.
Hmm.
And I thought, okay, that I'm kind of brave, I'm kind of courageous, like I can do it scared. And then I took some training to get certified to do coach people on imposter syndrome. And one of the biggest things that came up is it's such a BS quote. And this wasn't my perspective, this was hers. And I really had to like embrace it and see what it was about and feel it out for myself. But once I really started to see what she was talking about in the training, why you don't do it scared, it made a lot more sense. And it was, are you going to have to find the courage? Absolutely. But that fear, we don't ignore it like, oh, I'll just get past, I'll pretend it doesn't exist. While you're finding the courage to go into the thing that you've been afraid to go into, you could also still be doing the work on the fear to start to quiet. And then what happens is when you've done the work on that fear, you start to build your confidence, and alongside that, your
Right.
self-esteem, so that each and every time you do have to do something scary, now you have the tools to get through it faster and easier. So it's not such a
Right.
hurdle. So when people say do it scared, there's a little bit of a caveat there, right? Yeah, you're always going to have the fear come up. So you kind of do have to do it scared, but we don't pretend that the fear doesn't exist. You can work through the fear at the same time. And that's going to
Right. I
serve
think
you.
that, go ahead.
No, that was it. It's going to serve you in the long run to do the work on the fear as you're, engaging in the thing you've been scared to do.
Right. I think the confidence is the biggest issue, right? Like that's always the thing that holds us back, the fear and the confidence, right? So
Yeah.
I think that it's important for people to realize that you just got to push past it, and the more you
Mhm.
do it, the more confident you get, the more comfortable you get, and the more ready you are to take that leap and just jump.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's just like you said, that's exactly how you build confidence. You don't suddenly get, do all this inner work and then you're like, I'm confident, I'm good to go. You have to take action in order to build the confidence.
Right, right.
So there is going to be a little bit of a fear there that's still, under the surface when you do the scary thing. So you find your courage, you do the thing that's a little scary while you're doing the inner work, and little by little you do build that confidence. So on the other side of it, it's not knowing, oh, this is going to be perfect every time. That's not what confidence is. It's
Hmm.
about knowing that even if it's not great, I'm still going to be okay on the other side. I'm still going to know how to stand back up and, dust myself off and go after it again. That's what
Yeah,
confidence building is doing. It's showing you that you're going to be okay no matter what the outcome is.
exactly.